do a unit on the Holocaust at the end of the semester, reading Art Spiegelman's book Mouse. And then we pair it with some scholarship about the Holocaust, and then students write a research paper where they use what they've learned about studying the Holocaust toward understanding a current issue. And so a lot of them are using what they've studied to talk about dealing with COVID-19, the loss of life, a lot of people are, my students are applying Viktor Frankl and the idea of how do you find meaning and perseverance.
Search for meaning, yeah.
Yeah, we read a little bit of that for the class. Because what we've experienced right now in COVID-19, the only parallel for some of these things is World War II, in terms of having this moment where everybody in our country had to make sacrifices and had to restrict some of the things that they were doing. The last time we had something like this was World War II.
Yeah.
And then even you guys in World War II, that was all rather minor compared, because the war wasn't on American soil, right?
Sure.
So it doesn't even compare to what it was in Europe, where.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what your family and your parents and great-grandparents went through, Agnes.
Yeah, my mother was born in 1941. So there's one family anecdote that she would walk around with in 1945, like with a little basket, pretending it's her birthday, so that people give her some food, because they had a famine after the end of the war, of course. So no, I just talked about it with my mom the other day, and she said, yeah, it feels a little bit like war, but a war is way worse, because those pockets where you can retreat, you don't have that privilege that you just really have to stay home. And if you're privileged to have a comfortable home and have electricity and running water and food, then you could just stay there, and it still sucks, but nobody's actually doing anything bad to you.
Yeah, that's the sad part, is that we're not trying to defeat Hitler here. We're trying to defeat a virus that we could defeat by having better leadership and better cooperation between people. And it's sad to grieve the loss of more lives, knowing that it's at this point a failure of leadership and cooperation, not so much the virus itself.
But it's yes and no. Of course, the leadership. I see that back home, because they have amazing leadership and everything. But I think what the problem with the virus is that it's what we're asked to do goes so fundamentally against human nature to connect with one another, and the system. What humans do when things get hard is they reach out to one another. They want to be close and have crisis, but at the same time not to be allowed to have the support that humans are hardwired to crave. I think it's not what is asked of people is kind of, it goes so totally against human nature that as much as we should, and I'm diligent and doing this, it's freaking hard.
Oh yeah,
because we're not made like that to be our hermits and in our own bubbles. Stuff gets tough.
Hug withdrawal. Having hug withdrawal, just not being able to touch somebody, anyone.
Yeah.
So, I think I've had a lot of jokes with people that people are going to start fetishizing lips after this, because we just haven't seen the bottom of someone's face in so long. When you're outside, we're going to start appraising lips in whole new ways.
You're in California, Kevin?
Yes, I am. I'm in Southern California. I'm in Long Beach.
Uh-huh.
I haven't left Long Beach in about 9 months or so, basically. except for maybe one short thing. It's been really scary here for me. I got tested recently for COVID and I'm okay, but it's just I live in shared housing, so it's good for me, but it's something that's in and out, and I've been concerned about it. But I'm safe.
Good.
You know, I've just been keeping close to home.
Well, I think everyone is mostly here except for Jason Reberg. So would you guys like to get started?
Sure. Yeah.
Who knows if and when Jason is gonna be here.
Yeah, Jason can be somewhat of an enigma in these things. So I'll like to welcome you all to the Strange Days, Stranger Nights release party, I suppose. That's where we're at here, the Gasconade Review. Again, John couldn't join us because of some personal issues. If you have a chance to reach out to him and give him a clap on the back, I'm sure he'd appreciate it. I'm going to kick off with a poem about an uncle of mine that passed away. And then, Agnes, would you like to start us off tonight?
Sure. What are we going to do? Are we going to read the things that are in the book, or should we read something that's not in the book because we all have the book in?
Yeah. I was going to say, why doesn't everybody read for like 10 minutes? Does that work?
Sure.
So read whatever you want. Read from the book. Don't read from the book. We're all here. Let's just have fun and do whatever we need to do. So
sounds good.
All right. So I'll read this poem, which is called Life with Lions. This is from my Lady Pittsburgh book, which happened a decade ago somehow. Standing at the edge of your bed, I realize calling you a son of a bitch changes little. I have no reason to forgive, damn, or apply some quality of mercy. The years make things different. You sit upright, hospital lights garishly highlight your mouth, hanging, drooping left, your chest hollowed out barrel, now a tent for loose bones, your hands bloodstained, swollen, tattooed with past homes of IV needles. Your face a disparate clash of mother and father now coming apart, and the only way anyone knows you hear a word is by the accelerating of your heart rate. EKG spikes, spires of fading life. 12 years have passed, we've spoke about 2 sentences, but you may have been the closest to a father that I had, short of my own, who was in the ground when you applied, certainly closer than his replacement who was too full of contempt to even attempt the job. Even when you were closest, there was nothing more to hold us in place than the tenuous tether of family, and that tether snapped under a lifetime of addictions. Now I have my own lifetime, my own addictions, and there is nothing worth damning, burning, or blaming. We all share our own life with lions. We'll all be traveling salesmen when we die.
Wow.
Sorry, that poem was heavier than I intended it. I haven't read it in a long time. I apologize for leaving you at that door, Agnes.
That's okay. Well, so I think I'll read some miscellaneous, something new, one from the ones that are in the Gasconade. And I want to start off with just something that is almost as if it were written for this time, only I wrote that last year. It's in my book, The Eden of Perhaps. Suffering is not a competition. There are no judges who weigh grief against grief. No trophies for the heaviest burden, no ribbons for the most deserving despair. Do not compare. You must pull yourself out of the swamp by your own hair, declare yourself healed. There will be no spectators applauding at the finish line, no paparazzi snapping, no journalists waiting for an interview. Only you will know that you've made it with nothing to show than your heart still beating. And we're here as this kind of random collection of people. So I think this fits we, the Argonauts. We crawled from our boats, tired from drifting through chaos, to rest on this island and space and time. Tonight we were safe. We are a haphazard band of travelers, each carrying our own scars, our personal brand of crazy, our deep humanity, and our flawed loves. For a while, we are companions in the fellowship of seekers. Look for answers at the bottom of the river or the bottle, or in the inscrutable face of an oblivious moon. Perhaps the golden fleece is just a phantom, and we are meant to remain here where the river flows in steady blessing and night is a symphony of frog song. I'm going to read a couple new ones. I did not set out to write Corona poems, and I was in the spring, I was very adamant that I was not going to write COVID poems. And then as it is, we write about what moves us. And so some of the poems happen to be COVID poems. Nursing home visit in times of Corona. You must make an appointment by phone. You must call between 10 and 3 on a weekday. You may only visit once a week. You must visit between 1 and 5 p.m. You may not stay longer than 1 hour. You must check in 15 minutes before. You must fill out a form. You must wear a face mask. You must keep a distance. You must disinfect your hands. You must walk to the building along the shortest way you have been directed to use. You must check in with the nurse. You must wait if the nurse is busy. You may not speak with the doctor. You must make an appointment to call the doctor by phone if you have questions. You must check out with the nurse. You receive a check mark by your name. You get a green mark if you kept the time limit. You get a red mark if you overstayed. If you have a red mark, you may be denied further visits. Love, after 50 years, is an old woman riding the bus for an hour to a nursing home to sit with her husband. He does not speak much. She does not have much to say either, but does not waste one precious minute of the allowed time. When she says goodbye, she will have just missed the bus that runs every hour. She wanders the deserted cobblestone streets of the small town. Most businesses close at 5, but a cafe is still open. She eats a piece of dry cake. It is autumn. The dusk falls early. She rides home through the dark. When she steps into her empty house, she hopes she will get to do this again soon. And this is one from the Gasconade vineyard in Dresden, and that's been first published on Chase's magazine and As It Ought to Be. And so this is a reprint of Vineyard in Dresden. The path between the ivied walls is paved in sandstone. Grass grows from the cracks. I follow the trails of childhood. The cobwebbed door has not been opened in a long time, but someone cleared the steps leading to it. I climb the stairs into the vineyard, breathe history, mine and the land's. Lush and green, the grapes promise a rich harvest. Below, the river sings a love song to a city that is no longer mine. 18 years change a person and the place. Not even the trees are the same. The drought felt the old oak in the clearing we called the witches' dance hall. But the hills and the river are still there, and dearer to me than the castles and cathedrals that lure the tourists. And the summer light through the maples remains unchanged as all else grows old and distant. And I want to finish with something that is a little more uplifting, a little more positive, and not just so sad. Teach me to do outrageous things, to jump in the abyss and grow my wings as I fall. Teach me to go all in, to commit without fear. Teach me to hear what the universe whispers. Teach me to let go with grace, to face the uncertainty, not to cling to security. Teach me to sing when the pain gets too deep. When I want a long sleep, shake me, wake me, slap me out of complacency, out of despondency, out of the saturated, overfed life. Teach me what it means to be free, to be me, to throw the world's expectations on a pyre, to become the fire that liberates, recreates, animates me. Teach me that only I hold me back, that I hold the deck, that I deal my own hands. Teach me to dance on the precipice. Teach me to fly, to cry, to dream, to scream, whether nobody listens or the whole world. Teach me to not give a damn. Thank you.
That was fantastic, Agnes. Thank you so much. Yeah, those COVID poems were spectacular. All right. Sorry, computer just glitched briefly on me and I got confused as to what was going on. Yes, thank you so much, Agnes. That was fantastic. Chase, you wanted to go next?
Yeah, thank you so much.
After Chase, Kevin, you want to go after Chase?
Yes, I'll go.
All right, awesome.
Awesome. All right. So I'm going to read one of my poems from the Gasconade, and then a few others, and all of them appear in my new book, Sentinel Species, put out by Stubborn Mule Press. And so big thanks to Jason Reberg and everybody that was a part of this. So I'll start with the poem that's in this book that also appears in the Gasconade. Jason wanted a couple of my poems that were inspired by paintings by Grant Wood. And in fact, about 2 years ago, me and Mike James over the summer traded back and forth poems about Grant Wood paintings. So this one's about Grant Wood's most famous painting, American Gothic. And it's kind of a little bit about the backstory behind this painting. This is called American Gothic. Nan Wood was embarrassed her brother paired her with a man twice her age, and told anyone who would listen the painting was of father and daughter. He guards his aging little girl with a politely stern Midwestern stare. She looks grimly sideways into the distant modernism barred by the pitchfork. Her distended neck and oval head, an American Modigliani, with all the realism of the rutted earth plowed across her face. Better a spinster gazing past the corn than the wife unpictured in the kitchen. So I'm going to read a few more from Sentinel Species. It's a collection of poems about our relationships with animals, the environment. In this case, the Grant Wood poems all about the farm country of the Midwest, where I went to grad school in Illinois. So since we were talking about poems about uncles, I'm going to read a poem in this book about me becoming an uncle, and that I wrote for my niece who was born this year. And I hope that as an uncle, I matter to Nellie as much as John Dorsey's uncle clearly matters to him. So this one's called Imitation Unicorns, and it's for my niece Nellie. When I first held you, I watched unicorns prance in soft, fleecy pink across your onesie as your dreaming, breathing belly rose in and out, lifting them off into the infinite pastel possibilities of infancy. I wondered when you'll start sorting out your fairy tale menagerie into fact and fiction, when Z will still be for zebra, but you will have to settle for urchin, or the unspotted saw-whet owl, or the unlined giant chafer beetle, the unstreaked tit tyrant, or any number of animals defined by what they lack. Will you still marvel at the unadorned rock wallaby despite his lack of adornment? Will you still respect the unarmored three-spined stickleback despite her vulnerability? Will you accept substitutes? The fencing narwhal, swashbuckling the Baltic more weaponized than majestic, the hornbill who flies like Pegasus but shrieks fighting for figs in the trees. When Marco Polo first laid eyes on a rhinoceros in the land of Bosma, he wrote, "Unicorns are altogether different from what we fancied." He bemoaned, "Unicorns are not in the least like that which our stories tell of. They delight much to abide in mire and mud. 'Tis a passing, ugly beast to look upon." I hope you never use myth as your measure. When you gaze at the unicorn trotting through the frosted cupcake mountains on your Lisa Frank Trapper Keeper, know that fantasy is a projection of our inner colors on a world both gray and yet so brilliant we can't see all the light in the spectrum. And most of all, humor your uncle when he pulls a mule to your birthday party, straps a rainbow-painted corn cob to its head. When you ride old Wilbur into a sunset that stops at the fence in your backyard, no, he did the best unicorn impersonation his old bones could carry. Thank you. Let's see. Since we were talking before this started about World War II and how like I've talked a lot about to my grandparents about their experience during World War II because of the sacrifices that they've had to make as children. You know, that's the closest thing I can learn from as a living history for navigating COVID-19. So here's a poem that was published in the San Pedro River Review a few years ago about both of my grandparents during World War II, and this one's called Victory Garden. Used aluminum foil, unwadded, pressed smooth with a rolling pin, filed in the drawer by length. Ziploc bags inverted, wiped of remains clothespin to dry. She tells me, during the war, industrial white margarine bars came with yellow dye capsules to crush and imitate butter's oily sunshine. You whipped till your elbow throbbed if you wanted a thin spread of luxury, a little grease to ease the burnt toast down your throat. You whipped till it felt like churning, till visions of the battlefield whirled around in the kitchen and appliances rattled like machine guns. We didn't know the butter lobby got yellow-dyed margarine banned by the government well before the war. We thought we were doing our part. She grabs the half-full Costco-sized margarine tub on the table. Her pupils pulse like they're counting, dart like they're adding. When I'm gone, this should be about big enough to hold my ashes. Mix me with the compost and the leftover casseroles at the wake. Spread me evenly among the roses. Let's see. And I guess continuing the World War II theme, one of the things I like to do in this book in the third section is I'm a big history guy, and I like exploring the historical significance of our relationships with animals. And so this one's called Great Hall of the Bulls. In the caves of Lascaux, we come to hear the stampede of aurochs reverberating through the ancient hall, the trace of their outlines in earthen pigments, the first finger of man flattening the wilderness into points and lines, the invented myth of a lost origin, when men were men, and beasts were beasts, and men were beasts, but beasts weren't men. In 1627, we recorded the last Auroch to stomp and rut across Central Europe. He roamed through Teutonic mythology etched into woodblocks above the alt shrift, emblazoned on medieval coats of arms. Caesar said they were as big as elephants. They ate the grass grown between his ruins. In the 1930s, German brothers Heinz and Lutz Heck tried to revive the auroch from the era of extinction. They believed the science of breeding back could resurrect the auroch from the genes of domestic cattle, artificially select the most aggressive specimen, and inject the snarl of the wild back into the bull. Hermann Goering envisioned stocking his hunting preserve with a herd of primeval beasts, a theme park where the Nazi elite could live their fantasies of a pristine Prussian past, prancing through the forest with the Erlkings and magical flutes, thanks to the inevitable progress of eugenics, reveling in the peaty, uncontaminated dung of the Moorish bull, whose violent instinct became their ideology. The purer the brute, the more noble their stomp. Amidst the rubble and ashes of the Reich, a handful of Heck cattle survived World War II, too wild for the ranch, too tame for the forests. A few farmers still breed them as a novelty, a replica of the relic now old enough for its own pedestal. A witness who hears in his DNA, not the bellow of his ancestors' call, shaking branches in the Black Forest, but the bombs above the Tiergarten and the screams behind the gate. So I'll do one more poem. Let's see. And since I'm actually home in my parents' house right now, so I get to see my dog. So I'll write one. I'll read one about my dog. And this one's called "My Dog Begs for Something That Will Kill Her." She stares up at the counter, watching me hammer bricks of baker's chocolate into tiny daggers, as the double boiler hisses to melt these cyanide chips into velvety hemlock cocoa. She flares her nostrils, licks her chops, props her head and ears up to plead. I've taught her the most pathetic submission will win her a cantaloupe rind to gnaw, extra Parmesan cheese raining like manna on the tile, the gristle end of the fatted calf, the benevolence of byproducts. Sitting in the Food for Less cart, I cried when I could not have the black licorice with the dead cartoon rat. I dug beneath the sink for the sweet pine sol Kool-Aid, searched shoeboxes for packets of silica sweet and low. Because we ate from the tree of knowledge, every poison berry drips kissable on lush, pouty lips. How many times did somebody die eating the toxic fruit around the cashew just to get to the nut inside? How many times did they only want the fruit? Despite the instinct of wines and salivation, my dog trusts me not to slither down from the butcher block, offer a handful of M&Ms and promise the wisdom of mankind. She'd only wake up begging herself for the pill wrapped in cheese. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Chase. Again, I've really enjoyed reading Sentinel Species. It's been so much fun.
That's awesome.
Taking
Thank
my
you
time
so much.
and enjoying it. But yeah, a lot of really lovely surprises throughout that book.
Thanks.
Kevin, if you're ready to go, babe, take a swing.
Okay.
Jay, are you good to go next?
Yeah, sounds good.
Awesome, man.
All right. The first poem that I'm going to read is, it was printed as a River Dog Broadside, #2, by John Dorsey and Victor Clevenger last year or this year. The poem is called "The Death of the Coppertone Girl." The billboard stood above Interstate 5. It featured a pretty cartoon girl with her bikini bottoms pulled down in a mechanical tug of war with a deranged cartoon dog, which showed off the tan line of her pale derriere She lost one of her legs during a storm that left the dog decapitated and with less of an appetite for bikinis. They both stood there until the bitter end, when they disappeared, and the sign turned into a large ad that read, "Shop at Walmart," which forced me to grieve the loss of the first woman I fell in love with and could not save. The next poem I'm going to read is from Gasconade, Strange Days, Stranger Nights. It's called The Ugly Parade. We were societal outsiders with a defiant spirit we believed would conquer fascism. They marched single file dressed in hideous costumes to go with their distorted minds down every snowy path and through every single dorm room, including my girlfriend's room, where she had to cancel my blowjob for a bedside ticket to these hideous doodah kids. And one of them asked my girlfriend if my penis was big and ugly or tiny and flaccid, but she refused to answer their questions, and we turned them away, having renounced our own personal freakdom for the false comfort of mainstream exclusivity, where we were ejected when we let them all know how beautiful we were on the outside, but on the inside, we were uglier than every last one of them. I'm gonna read a poem. I don't know if I've read it before, but it's called My Girlfriend Kissed Mr. Rogers. He was the first man I trusted and loved in the wake of my father's disappearance from my life. He wore a cardigan I envied. He was a smooth operator who never let me down, and her loving spirit complemented his as they killed everyone with the same relentless kindness that killed them both. She embraced the gentle public television star on stage after he spoke at her college graduation, and she whispered lusty poetry into his ear before she surprised him with a kiss. They were joined together in a force field of an electric goodness so potent they could have used it to save the world. She left me for Mr. Rogers, who she followed into a cosmic neighborhood, somewhere in a great beyond where they earned an impossible sainthood. The compassionate lip lock she initiated years ago still haunts my wildest daydreams, where I can hear her whisper, "Won't you be mine?" Here's a poem called Getting High with Mom and Dad. My mother started to look and talk like a melting Salvador Dali painting when my father came to and handed me down David Koresh eyeglasses. My mother held the pot smoke in her lungs and passed the lit joint to my father. He let my mother shotgun clouds of weed smoke in the middle of a kiss, and before I knew it, they both agreed how trippy it was that I came from my father's testicles. They bushwhacked and zoned out while they tripped out and fingered the curly hair of my long beard to hide a baby face they grew nostalgic about. My mother started laughing because she thought my face looked like a vagina. The high soon wore off, and we were awkward and distant with each other all over again. My mother asked me at one point if I had any more weed. I lied when I told her no. I'm gonna read like maybe one or two more poems.
Awesome.
I'll read this poem's called Toxic Masculinity. My father never taught me anything other than how to saw women in two, with electric charisma that leaves us both daydreaming in separate prisons, and all of them dying while waiting for us to join them on the outside. He taught me how to break hearts by way of the art of self-destruction. He taught me how to rob, cheat, and steal the pants off anyone I could manipulate. He never taught me how to drive a car or how to ride a bike or how to fish. I looked in his dusty dresser drawers for artifacts that he left behind. His 1983 wardrobe and his last pack of Camel non-filters. Half of it smoked on the day he was captured. The other half brittle with straws of tobacco, which tasted like a very bitter kind of silly string that is anything but silly and is killing him as he battles lung cancer in prison. He taught me the power of mystery and the art of disappearing. But it has all gone down like a movie. One big mushroom cloud of devastation as we drift further into the darkness that my father taught me. This poem is called Bad Dreams Come True. She insisted I was a mystery to her. My brooding intensity and the assault of thoughts and feelings and my distorted visions overwhelmed her for 9 years. I cannot even remember our last kiss after dinner at the bus stop across the street, where she helped me climb onto the bus. I was passed out cold when she tried to call me at midnight, once she realized that she was dying and wanted to tell me she loved me, when she told me goodbye. And now I am left standing here until I can solve the mystery of the man she left behind. I'll read one more. It's called Wild Oats. She stopped fucking me, told me I needed to fuck more people than I'd fucked in my lifetime. She did it, everyone else did it, so why the holdup on my end? She decided to go and die on me, leaving me with no choice but to find somebody else to fuck, who will give me shit for not fucking more people until the human race goes extinct from my lack of fucking. Not a single baby will be fucked into existence. They'd be lost causes just like me. But she's dead, and so is the majority of my family, which means they can see me down here, in a world where even the dead are getting laid. But not me. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. I always love hearing you read, man. That Copper Tone poem, for some reason, every time you read it or anytime I've read it, sorry, hang on, cat just tried to take my earphones. But as soon as that poem starts, I start thinking about the Del Reeves song, Girl on a Billboard. And it's being like so disparate from your poem, you know, like I've got this happy, jaunty country song playing in my head while you're reading that poem, and it amuses the hell out of me that those two things just happen together. The accident of proximity within the synapses of our brain.
Well, thank you.
No problem. Jay, are you ready to go, man?
Yeah, I'm ready. Thanks for having me. So I'm going to start with some newer stuff that I wrote, and then I'll read a couple from the Gasconade. So the first one I'm going to read is called Rachel. Rachel, your mother lies in a broken music box lined with taffeta. There is no wind-up key, but you know that. You grab my wrist and push it into the box like a dare. Just touch her, you whisper. She won't even notice. I jerk away. I imagine she felt like porcelain. Now I think it would have been more like cold clay. So this one is an elegy for my grandmother. She passed away in May during the pandemic, and we were in quarantine, so I couldn't go to her funeral, so it's kind of a bummer. All right, so this is elegy. I sift through the strata of caked lipstick stains, rouges and hot pinks, doting, no effort of tissues or rubbing could ever steal from my cheek. chipped porcelain kings and queens truced in a yellow Dutch master's box, but not resting dominion over your kitchen table. Crystal furred ice cream sandwiches you gave me until I grew tall enough to reach them for myself. Cigarette smoke that climbed for years and slept. A lamb curled into the floral wallpaper, fleeced after you left for the home, where you sometimes called me by the wrong name, but I never corrected you. Its halls were like a stalled zoetrope. Each room was still. For the hospice, for the undetected sinkhole gnawing through your plates, your burial I miss in quarantine. I sift for what remains after the silt is washed away. All right, this next one's from the Gasconade. So this is The Other Loves Ghost. Climb the hill and across the iron tracks, on the outskirts of the heaving city. Abandoned, the ruddy outer walls lie. Sanctuary dubbed the Ghost Factory. Dripping white down the rusted railroad bridge, a graffiti scrawled, "The Other Loves Ghosts." Weekend nights haze, Jack swigged empty lot. We then sneaked through a hole-cut brush and fence, spider sun-bleached brick in wrought fire escapes, to our place on the roof where we watched below. The dull heartbeat of street-lit arteries, salt-bitten sedans, and black-stained box trucks, inching on winter cracked and vascular, divided by faint white dashes and alternating soft greens, yellows, and reds. Above the city, we tell each other, and we tell ourselves we won't end like them. A decade stretched inside since glass-eyed nights. Years strung together with "make sure you stay" touch. Hey, congrats on the new baby. I haven't talked to him in ages. Did you hear what happened? Sorry for your loss. When visiting, I'm pulled along scenic routes. On pockmarked streets and vacant storefront window eyes, my reflection floats. Where once it stood and now like cairns of broken brick sprawl. The part of me is happy we didn't end like them, covered in graffiti scroll. Cracked gray letters drip, "The Other Loves Ghost." All right, I got about two more.
Awesome.
So, thank you for letting me do this. This is my first time actually reading, so I really kind of started writing in January, and I don't have a ton of stuff ready. So, thank you again.
I did not know that. It's great to hear you read. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. All right, so this one is called "The Last Cowboy of Colonial Beach." He dances even in the quiet between songs. He grinds his cracked leather boots into the sand like a mortar and pestle, each step igniting a new reaction and blasting a trail of scorched glass in a staggered circle. He sways with the high tide, hanging on to the brown bottle above him like the first flotsam he found after being washed away. The bartenders always make sure he has one to hold on to, even if he doesn't pay. The locals will tell you it's easy to live full life when everything you see is doubled. His sagging belt buckle isn't for holding his jeans up, but for keeping him from floating away. The salt crusting his neck is the same churning in the mouth of the Potomac. He's always been around, or maybe he was spit up here by a whale and decided to just settle down, take it easy. All right, and then one more. This one is called "Regret." So it's just a few lines that I was writing about regret. So regret. It is an anchor caught on a satellite. Friction eats its chains and leaves you adrift in the night. It is a box stuffed with dreams set high upon a closet shelf. You will open it again someday while searching for a yellowed letter. It is a heart to graze by your arrow because you hesitated to loose it. It leaves no trickle of blood to track. Thank you again.
Awesome. Dude, it was so good to hear you read. That was a great first reading. I hope you get to join us again for one of these soon, man.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
I would look forward to reading you in the Gasconade. I just got mine Wednesday, so I haven't had time to sit down with it yet.
Nice. There's some good stuff in there.
Yeah, I'm always extremely excited by the group of writers that John and Jason put together with this. And every single one of these has been a joy to read through. So certainly looking forward to this one.
Thank you.
Luke Kuzmich, if you're out there and you're ready, man, you want to do it, it's all you.
I would love to do it, and I would love to do it in front of all of you guys. Thank you for hosting this, Jason. Thanks to all the contributors. Yeah, it's been a great issue. I haven't read the whole thing yet. Life's pretty crazy, and that's a crappy excuse. But the pieces that I have read are great. The things I've heard tonight have been wonderful. So thank you all. Yeah, I'm gonna read a sloppy little mix of new and old and stuff that was in the review and stuff that wasn't. I'm gonna start with this one called "Celebrated Indian Summer," and it's after John Dorsey. There's a short fire burning on the fresh cut lawn in the slant of the November sun this celebrated Indian summer. We are burning wood from pallets that held orange soda or watermelons, sawed into bits when summer seemed she wouldn't end. The neighbor lady scolds her little dog, telling it he lives there. He's allowed to be there. I hear syrupy country music through fence links of chain. I still don't feel I belong here, yet here I am. Still wrapped in the desperate clutches of alien I met when I was just a boy dreaming of death, praying for understanding. I never stopped talking to God, cursing on the cigarette butt highways and the dead end streets of Cambridge, begging in the lonely breaths of New Jersey nights where I passed the lonely mirrors knotted in their private infinities. I never really cared for his answers, stone gray sky taunting me with spring rain and muted sunlight. I was hot or I was cold. I was the stream always moving. This Indian summer is fleeting like the blue ashes making clouds, whether they are wanted or not. So this is another new one. It's called East Side Heart. The East Side Heart pumps proud blood through stray cat alleys, avenues, and arteries of pierogi suppers and prayer rug knees. Diesel breaths of shifting semis to red brick lungs throbbing lonely. A rhythm that quickens over every horizon, uncertain past every bus stop, sleeping. Between the drops of rain, pulsing, broken piano blues sing the faces. The refugees carrying water, the soot-crossed Catholics, the bodegas the bodega's welcoming wick, wafting blunt smoke, determined to never crack dishonest smiles or shed hard-earned tears. Penny candy for teeth, daughters and sons shooting dice in after-hours clubs, postured like traveling salesmen who have nowhere to go. Under street lamps, we collect gutter water songs sung to prison wire barbs. Through World War II windows, we share our heat to a world on fire. We grow fish tumors, eating rice like monks. We tend herb gardens in sidewalk seams. We follow an eroded sun and smokestack afternoon, a funeral procession without a burying ground. This is a couple that were in Gasconade. This one's called Gigi's. We were flirting with disaster, the six of us drunk on identities lost, permitted to be rebuilt away from home, even if they were bound to the fate of sand castles at high tide. We never asked her name, so I'll just call her Disaster. The 17-year-old high school dropout who was a good sport to play our fool. We laughed heartily as she told us she was paying for her boyfriend's truck on the tips here in Columbus. She took my plate after 2 bites to show off the nightly special to the blue hairs who didn't seem to find us amusing at all. Eddie got the silk pie, then on the counter we each left her a 20 and didn't wait for change. Out in the night, breath mixes with the dust from the boots on our feet and the exhaust of our escape. I guess I don't know if she thought we were funny or if I ever really enjoyed the taste of cigarette smoke, but we all play along for someone's benefit. This is a poem called Art Magazines, and it's for my brother Cole. Some house party well past midnight, drunk upstairs, hiding lonely in the kitchen, finding nothing to steal. I came across some art magazines. I texted you to say, I don't get it. You reply, I think all art is basically saying the same thing. Ever the perpetual little brother, the provocateur, the talk show host without an audience. I asked you dumbly, you mean my poem is the same as your poem? I could feel the dryness in your response as you told me all art is just an artist trying to keep alive that which is dying. I'm gonna read 2 more. This is called Megan Weeping Willow. And I just want to say that like really stupid things or seemingly stupid things inspire poems. This was inspired by me not wanting to get out of bed to go pee because I was comfortable. So I see today your teeth, acid burnt and rounded, the fishing boat my father took out on Lake Pleasant's July, swallowing water and bleeding crackers and jelly in the rain. Like Carver, incomplete, your teeth are what still stick to my ribs, striding in gaunt dreams. No one else is going to empty your piss pot. In a windowless room, my red flannel sleeve searching for its lost button. Smoking phony memories, you are the compass when there is no northern star. And this is my last one, and this goes out to your friend of mine, Kevin. It's discovering Warren's Evil on at 33. Feels like a new pair of glasses to see yellowing nicotine hugging dirty fingernails. Feels like ugly is true and true is just a mirror. Feels like a picnic between bowing gravestones. Feels like standing alone with all the other losers and hand-me-down slacks at the last homecoming, as the last homecoming song sways your dreams to bed. Feels like finding out how to breathe the good air. Feels like waving as Socrates smiling drowns in the same river as you. Feels like harmonizing with hymns in the wind. Thanks.
Awesome, Luke. Thanks, man. I think your poems might just be what the wind going up State Street in the middle of December feels like. Nobody else is from Erie, so they don't know. But if you've lived in a cold lake town and you know what the wind off a lake feels like, then you may sympathize. I'm going to close out the night with a few poems here. Again, I am the disembodied voice of Oz, or Jason Baldinger, taking the place of John Dorsey. This poem is called Breakfast in 1974. We were rambunctious in the shadow of the First World War, finding the Midwest smaller after the lights, the destruction of Europe. And maybe it was the Depression or our own sons following our footsteps years later that took it out of us. Maybe it was just living. Now it's static. White noise daily on the Kansas horizon, waiting out our ends in a 56 Ford pickup truck, AM radio broken on the same country station. We see each other in the diners of morning, 3 eggs over easy, bacon, coffee, and toast, pile it in before the day and its chores take over, saying the same things. Another dusty western wind settled up for breakfast in 1974. So Kevin was talking about Mr. Rogers, and if you'd like, I can tell you a somewhat taboo Mr. Rogers story. So apparently Fred Rogers was a incredible practical joker, and the crew had just had enough at one point in time. So they figured they'd get him back by putting a rubber sex doll in the closet so that when he reached in to get his sweater, the doll would jump out at him on camera and he would react and everyone would get a good laugh. But Fred did not do that. He opened the door and the doll came out at him, and without missing a beat, he tangoed across the stage with a rubber sex doll, dipping it in front of the cameraman and smiling, and the crew just fell over laughing. Slightly illicit Fred Rogers story for you. This is called Sometime in 1971 for Victor Clevenger. Victor, your Sisyphean myth starts and ends in the Maple Leaf Bar, crab walking across the patio. Everett Maddox's headstone hovers inches above the ground. If you make it to the back door, then the alley to the car without your back seizing like Maddox's back after sleeping on a park bench, a copy of the Times-Picayune covering his chest. If you make it, you get to ask, do I win a grilled cheese? If you make it, brother, you win a lifetime supply of Gus's famous fried chicken. If you make it, babe, Come on out to Nevada City. I hear it's still 1986. I'll be there wearing a hangover and a fedora, waiting out Lou Welsh. He's been out squatching since sometime in 1971. I'm going to read two more for you, but I'm not 100% sure what one of those poems should be yet. So actually, we'll do this for Jeanette Powers. We are rivers. On the Gasconade, cook shacks pull the curtains. We don't pull no punches. We are rivers, have been rivers, dream as rivers. Shit, maybe that's what most people don't realize. How we flow, how time flows, how it's all water, how we're all water with just a dash of electricity. The catfish plate pool, the TV screen runs today's numbers. Althea keeps Budweiser coming. Kidneys scream and we talk dead fathers, absent lovers, and time. This town is weird synchronicity, or maybe it's us, weird cast-offs unmoored in our 40s, trying to wrap our heads around when or how it all happened. The other night I saw an armadillo and a possum copulating on Route D. That adds nothing to this poem. Midnight now. We're waltzing in the headlights on Alvarado. We are dry bones, rivers of flesh. We are acutely lost in time. So the last poem I'm going to read you is called A Threadbare Universe. And I realized that I am sitting here reading this brand new book that I can't show you because I don't have a video screen. But my brand new book is coming from Kung Fu Treachery Press. You should be able to order copies of it now. It is called A Threadbare Universe. I just got my author copies on Wednesday, so I'm actually reading from this book for the first time. This is the title poem, A Threadbare Universe. Those all-night drives with dead sleep friends winding through the Adirondacks like something about this mattered. Just kids, no money, no concept. JB wanted to be Kerouac, and that was simple enough. I wheel around Lake Champlain after 6 a.m. Sun clears horizon, blind from my rear view, breathless, I park middle of a sleepy Sunday, July street. Bathed in sunrise, I walk to the water, dumb stare, completely alone. It was the first moment the universe seemed threadbare. No depth, no complex lives, just a moment, a breath drawn, held and exhaled, just a moment, overwhelming, where everything is. When this short life of trouble, when this long walk through time ends, when the corporeal self is ash, my friend, please take the box of what's left of me back to that shore on some July morning. Do your best to celebrate as the sun comes up, what we built, what we shared, those little moments when our lives are not a careening, desperate shock. Instead, the moments where there is little, nearly nothing, only a series of atoms, particles, simple and alone, lost in a threadbare universe. Thank you. Oh, there's a beautiful cat. Mine is here at my feet. She's
Yeah, I saw the picture that you posted of your cat, and here is mine.
Oh, she's a lovely, lovely.
She's
lady.
22.
Oh, that's beautiful. Squirrel's 15. So, you know, we're at that point where I'm just trying to give her everything she wants to get her as long a life as possible. We've been such good friends. I'm not ready for her to go anywhere.
Well, mine has started peeing on the floor 6 times every single day, and I am kind of ready for her to
Oh,
go somewhere. So,
yeah. Yeah, I understand that.
but she is very cute. She's very pretty, and she is a sweetheart. So that's why we put up with it.
Well, we'll do whatever we can here. So, do you guys want to hang out a little bit, or are you ready to call it for the night? Everybody's read that wanted to, unless you guys want to do one more poem each or anything like that. It's up to y'all.
I think I'm good because I have very early mornings courtesy of Miss Cricket, like 4
Very good.
o'clock.
Well, if we could all say in unison, since John should hear this, we love you, John. That can be our sign off. And then I wish you all a very good evening. And thank you so much for reading with us. This was lovely to sit through tonight.
Thanks for hosting. Thanks for stepping in, Jason.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jason.
Thank you. And love you, John.
All
Love
right.
you, John.
Love you,
John.
John. Love you,
right.
John.
Cheers, everybody.
You communicate with him like, meaning like, you're gonna be